guys right now, and I believe a lot of you have done the paper, and I saw your marks. Some have received 95, 90, 80, 85, 70. There were lots of students who got received 70 and above. Happy to see that. And one reason is this is chapter 1, no? So that's good. You should be able to get score 50 plus in any exams that you have questions based on chapter 1, because you have been traveling with it for a lot of time now, right? So that's it, and we'll start the questions, and then if there's anything we have to talk, we'll talk about them later on. So first question, what's the answer you all have given for this? What do you think? Which of the following is not a macroeconomic statement? Right. So to know which one is a macroeconomic statement, right, out of the following given here, you first need to know what is a macroeconomic statement. What is a macroeconomic statement, right? So the thing is, when you are doing MCQs, one thing I'm gonna take you through today is the process of getting to the answers when you are doing an MCQ question. So up until now in the past two classes, what we did was we did only essay questions. So I might have given few tips regarding answering essay type questions. So this is the first MCQ. So in this session especially, and whenever we are doing MCQs, I will give you specific tips to get to answers in MCQs. Because MCQs and essay questions obviously are different from one another. In essay questions, the question is there, you have to come up with the answer yourself and write it down. Everything you have to do on your own, right? The theory part you should have studied somewhere, and then you should have understood it properly, and then you should know some example in your head, so that you can structure an answer and write it down. That's how essay questions work. But when it comes to MCQs, they are a little bit easier, actually, simpler, but they are as important as MCQs, because as important as essay questions, because essay questions, they in total get you 50 marks. The balance 50 comes from MCQs. Right? So you can't be like, okay, for MCQs, I'm just going to try my luck. And for essay, I'm going to put all my effort. That's not going to work. You have to give pretty much equal, or specifically for MCQs, you should give more importance as well, because it's easy to score marks here. Every single question you have in part 1 of economics paper is an MCQ. How many MCQs do you get in part 1? Economics, A level. How many MCQs do you get? You get 50 MCQs, right? You get 50 MCQs. So if you're getting 50 MCQs, for each of the MCQs you do, you get 1 mark, right? So these MCQs are like gifts for you. All you have to do is read the question. You don't have to think of the answer. You don't have to come up with the answer yourself. The answers are given below, right? The answer, actually the right answer that will get you that 1 mark is right below here, just below the question itself. The only task you have to complete is to find the way to the correct answer, eliminating the wrong ones. So that's the only task you have to properly complete. That's the game here. If you know how to do that, you can score, actually, you can get all 50 MCQs right and score 50 out of 50. And then when you go to the, what do you call, part 2 paper, to get an A even, you have to only get 25 now. So it's that simple.
Okay. Here's what I found online.
Okay, something is wrong with my Bixby. It just gets activated randomly nowadays. Okay, so that's the most interesting part when it comes to MCQs. Okay, so whenever you are going to your A levels, make sure the 50 MCQs you guys are going to get, you should get all of them right. You should give your full effort to make sure somehow you are going to find the answer, because with MCQs, like I said, the question is there, the answers are given below. So you don't have to have the complete understanding of all the theories memorized in your head to get the answer right for MCQs. For MCQs, the main thing you need is, if it's macroeconomics, you should know what is macroeconomics and have a proper understanding only. So when you know, okay, macroeconomic means, so you guys tell me, what is macroeconomics? What is macroeconomics? Studying the economy as a whole. Yeah, that's pretty much what macroeconomics is, right? So what is microeconomics then? What is microeconomics? Right. So to simply put it, microeconomics studies about individual units of an economy, right? Example, one product's price, one person's income, one business's profit, one person's expenditure per month, one person's income for a day. So studying these individual units is called microeconomics. So it's like putting the economy under a microscope. You are zooming in and studying individual units of an economy. That's what microeconomics is. One product's price, one product's demand, one product's supply. Okay, on the other hand, macroeconomic means studying the whole economy as one. So here you are not studying about one person's income. You are studying about the whole population's income. You're not studying about one company's output, one company, one firm's production. You study about the whole economy's output. What's the total output of the country? What's the aggregate output of the country? Right? So one product's price, microeconomics. The general price level, macroeconomics. So that's how micro and macro are different. So for this question, when they are asking you, which of the following is not a macroeconomic statement? When you read the question itself, now you should know, okay, here there are 4 answers, but in your A levels, how many multiple choices do you get? Right, that you know, no, you get 5 multiple choices. I had to put only, what do you call, 4 here, because Kahoot only allows me to put 4, right? So when you are doing a proper MCQ on Edmodo or something, maybe in the future classes, you will have 5 MCQ answers. But for Kahoot, you can only put 4. So that's why you have 4 here, right? So you should know that only one of the following answers is going to be a microeconomic statement or not a macroeconomic statement. Everything else is going to be a macroeconomic statement. So here, if you look, the first one, the real gross domestic product increased by 7% last year. So do you know what is gross domestic product, GDP? Any idea? Do you know what is a gross domestic product? GDP means simply it's the total total production of the whole economy, the value of everything that is produced within the geographical boundaries of Sri Lanka. We call it gross domestic product, right? That's pretty much what GDP is. Whatever that is produced within the economic area of Sri Lanka, we add all those products values and we get the gross domestic product. Simply think it as the total production of the country. Okay, so total production of the country, here we are not talking about one product, shoes or shirts or phones. Here we are talking about every single product produced. So that's a macro statement. Inflation was 10.8 last month. Inflation means what? What is inflation? It's the gradual increase in general price level. Inflation means the gradual increase in general price level, a continuous increase in general price level over a longer period of time. That's what's called inflation, right? It should be increase, okay? Inflation means increase in general price level, not decrease. So here inflation was at 10.8 last month. So inflation is measured through increase in the general price level. General price level means the average absolute prices of everything that's produced in the country, right? So for everything that is produced, we take all their prices in a way and we give an average index price to it. You will learn this in chapter number 7. 2022 students might have learned it. 2023 students, you'll learn it later on. But this general price level, you see, talks about not just one product. It talks about every single product produced in the economy. So that's why that is also a macroeconomic statement. General price level, the green answer, general, that directly says general price level increased by 2.75 percentage. So again, that is a macro statement because it also talks about every single product in the economy, right? Now, the blue answer, demand for sanitizers increased by 250 percentage. So here you see, it's just one product, sanitizers. Their demand has gone up. So that's not talking about every single product in the economy. So that's a microeconomic statement. That is the answer for this question, as it's not a macro statement. So are you all okay with this macro part? Arsha, when inflation increases, purchasing power of the nominal income comes down. But that's not the definition for inflation. So when we did this question, you should have realized one thing. That is, when you're doing an MCQ, it's not just that question, right? It's not just that question. You need to answer the question. You can't just answer it by understanding the question, because every question will have 2 or 3 or more than that, 2 or 3 or more concepts related to that question. You should have an understanding of those concepts first to understand the question, and then understand the answers, and then answer it and get the mark. If you don't have a proper understanding of the concepts of which the questions are originating from, you can't answer the questions. So a complete knowledge of the theories, the complete understanding of theory of your A-level syllabus is compulsory for you to do the MCQs. Obviously, that's an obvious thing. I don't have to say it. And specifically, every MCQ you do might be at least related to one concept or more than that. You should have all those concepts understood in your head to answer these questions. So for this question, to answer it, you should know what is macroeconomic statement. Additionally, it would be great if you knew what is a micro statement as well. Then only you can identify out of the 4 answers given, which ones are macro statements and which one is a micro statement. Okay, so when we do more questions, you'll get the hang of it. We'll go to the next one. Which of the following is not an example for macroeconomics? So another question again. So what's the answer here? You can just say the color. You don't have to type the answer. Right. Here, when you look at the first answer, aggregate output. So that's pretty much, they are talking about the GDP, gross domestic product. That's what aggregate output of a country is. So macro statement. Economic recession. So when we say economic recession, we are not talking about one firm's drop in production, right? Or one household's drop in income. Economic recession means the total GDP of the country dropping over a short period of time. That's what recession is. GDP dropping, a decrease in the GDP for about a time period of less than 6 months. That's what economic recession means. So again, that's related to GDP, macro concepts. Unemployment level. Do you know what's unemployment level? Very good, Asha. That's what recession is. Unemployment means resources being not employed. Simple. And when we say unemployment level, we normally talk about labor unemployment. And here we are not talking about how many people are unemployed for one house, how many people are unemployed in a particular road. We are talking about unemployment level of the whole country again. So that is a macro concept. But when you look at market function of a business firm, one single firm, what are they doing? How are they operating? How are they distributing products? Everything, you know, when you look at the answer, market function might seem big, but here we are talking market function of a business firm, only one firm. So that's micro. So that's why for this question, the answer is the blue one. Again, this one. Right? Is that clear? Right. One question suddenly Nuski has asked, so how to show economic recession on a PPC? So you guys tell me how to show it. We actually went through that question in the previous class. How do you show it? Quickly tell me. Do you just mark a point inside and be like, okay, this is recession, or what do you do? Right. So when you mark this here, look at what I have drawn and tell me, what does it present? Does it present recession or something else? Right. What I have drawn right now shows unemployment, right? Because it shows that even though I can achieve more, the boundary is far away from me. I'm inside B, at B point. The PPC curve is way outside. So I'm not using all the resources available. I'm unemployed, right? As an economy, I have unemployment. Now, the question is how to show recession. To show recession, you have to show that you are at a rate, how to put it, that you were closer to PPC first. From there, unemployment is increasing. That's how you show recession. The movement from a point closer to PPC, from that point, if you are going far away from the PPC, that's how recession is shown. A movement inside the graph, away from the PPC curve, shows recession. So here from point A to point B, you see when you move away from the PPC curve, that means you are seeing an increase in unemployment levels. And that's what economic recession is. One thing, GDP, the total production has to drop. So when total production drops, lots of the factors of production will go unemployed because they are used in production. So unemployment will increase when GDP drops. So you can show it in two ways. One is from the PPC, you can come inside, or you can be at a point closer to the PPC. From there, it's getting worse. Already unemployment is there, but now it's increasing. So that is also recession, right? You can show it in these two ways. From A to B, recession. From C to B, also recession. So Nazhat is asking, is Sri Lanka in economic recession or in economic depression? Right now, actually, according to 2021 Central Bank report, Sri Lanka has seen, I'm not sure, it's more than 3% economic growth. The economic growth rate is more than 3% according to the Central Bank report. So we are not in depression. According to the government, we have grown by 3% compared to last, that means 2020. No way. The thing is, the problem in Sri Lanka is not about economic growth. It's about foreign reserves. We don't have foreign reserves. We don't have dollars. That's why the main problem is our currency has no value because they have printed a lot of money. It's not because we are not growing, especially compared to 2020, which was like a very bad year for everyone, for not just Sri Lanka, in other countries also, but we were affected in a huge way. Our GDP growth was minus 3.6 something. From there, we have come to a 3% growth, right? That doesn't mean it's actually a real growth, but still a small growth is there. But the problem right now, what we are facing is not related to economic growth. It's related to the reserve management, mainly. And the monetary policy of the country being so messed up. That was the problem. So we'll talk about them later on. We'll focus on the question now. A positive economic statement, out of these four, which one is a positive economic statement? That means which one shows the characteristic of a positive economic statement? I'm getting different answers now. That means some of you are confused in this area. I'm getting yellow, I'm getting orange. I think both of you are referring to the same thing when you say yellow and orange. Blue. I got red also. No one has said green though. Right, first things first. Tell me the characteristics of positive statements. Positive economic statements. They are facts. Since they are facts, they can be proven. Okay, they are facts. They can be proven. What else? they are objective, and they are used to explain what? Economic phenomena or economic behavior. So these are the characteristics of positive economic statements. Another rivalry in consumption. You have taken it from somewhere, and that's the characteristic of an economic good, not positive economic statement. Right. So again, like I said, to answer this question, you need to know what is a positive economic statement. You need to know its characteristics properly. Also, you should know some examples for positive economic statements as well. At the same time, you should know the other one. So here, positive means what's the other type of statements? Normative statements, right? Not negative. The general idea would be when it's positive, the other one is negative. But here we say normative economic statement, not negative, right? Positive economic statements doesn't mean, statements which motivate you to do something, while negative ones are something that's gonna make you not do it. So that's not what we're talking about here. Positive statements are simply statements that talk about what has actually happened, or whatever that is actually happening right now, or what will actually happen in the future. So if we say our Prime Minister yesterday, what did he do? He has resigned from his post. Now that statement is a positive economic statement, because that statement talks about something that has actually happened yesterday. If we say Prime Minister is, let's not get into political things, right? Let's go with the weather now. It's not raining here right now. So when I say that statement, I'm talking about something that's actually happening right now. It's not raining here. So that statement again is a positive statement. Okay. But I'm going to say it looks like in the evening it might rain today. When I say that statement, again, I'm talking about something that can happen in the future. So all those statements I just said are positive statements, because it talks about what has happened, what is happening, or what will happen in the future. Whereas normative statements are statements that talk about what should have happened, not what has happened. What should have happened, what should be happening, and what should happen in the future. So if I say some majority of the people were thinking the Prime Minister should have resigned a month ago. Should have resigned a month ago. Is that statement a positive statement? It's not a positive statement, because that's what I said didn't happen last month. I'm just saying it should have happened last month, right? Okay, so when I say it should be raining right now, it's not raining actually, but I'm saying I feel like it should have rained now. It should be raining right now. So when you look at that statement, it's not a fact. It's not something that's happening right now. It's just, what is it? When I say that statement, if it's not a fact, what do you call it? In this case, what I just said is a normative statement, and they are not facts, they are opinions, right? Normative statements are opinions or beliefs or values. That's what normative statements are. And can you prove an opinion? Can you prove an opinion? We can't prove an opinion. That's why even right now, yesterday, what happened? There were people who were anti-government. There were people who were pro-government, supporting the government. Both of them clashed. Actually, the pro-government people went and attacked the anti-government people. The problem is when someone who is neutral they don't know who is right. Even though in this case, the protesters, the anti-government people were peacefully protesting and the pro-government attacked them, that's a different story. I'm talking about who is right here is up for argument. Still, someone might be there saying, okay, Prime Minister shouldn't have left. There might be some other people saying Prime Minister should have left earlier itself. Some people might say, no, the President should have left. There might be different people saying different things. And the problem with that is they are all opinions. They are all opinions. You can't prove them right or wrong. That's why people are, fighting with each other. That's what's happening in the parliament also. Because all of them are opinions, no, not facts, right? And the thing with opinions is we can't prove them, right? Can't prove them. And positive statements are objective. Normative statements are what? Subjective. It means it changes from one person to another. Like I said, some people might say president should have left. Some people might say prime minister should have left. Some people might say both of them should have left. Some people might say both of them should have stayed. Right? Because opinions are subjective. Right? It changes from one person to another. Whereas positive statements, facts, president, prime minister resigned yesterday, it doesn't change from one person to another. Everyone would say, yes, prime minister resigned yesterday, because it's a fact. Whereas normative statements are personal views and beliefs and opinions. They change from one person to another. It's like saying orange is tasty. Some people might like it, but some people might say orange is not tasty because it's subjective. But when I say orange is orange, that everyone would agree because it's a fact, it's objective. Right. And what's the last characteristic we can give? Whereas positive statements are used to explain whatever that's happening around us in the economy, like prices of petrol has gone up, exchange rate has gone up, the Sri Lankan debt, foreign currency reserves have dropped to 50 million. All of those statements explain what's happening in the economy. They are positive economic statements. Whereas normative statements, they don't explain what's actually happening. They are used.
I didn't understand that.
Okay. My phone never understands whatever I'm saying, right? So, Rimas, that's not good, no? So normative economic statements are, right, used to analyze policies. They are used in policy analysis. That's what we say normative statements are used for. What that means is when you look at what a policy is, policies are things, how they should happen. When you take something, how it should have happened. That's what a policy is. So if you have a policy not to lie, you might not actually do it, but you think for yourself, that's how I should be. I should never lie. That's a policy. So when it comes to policy analysis, in parliament, if you take a certain policy, there will be two parties, the government and the opposition. They will put forth their opinion about the policy. They will say, no, this policy is bad. The other will say, no, this policy is good. And then they will argue about it in normative economic statements. That's why in parliament, they always fight, because they all put forth their opinions. Right? In parliament, majority of the time, they don't talk facts. They all talk about opinions. We should do this. We should keep the prime minister. We should ask the president to leave. In parliament also, that's what's happening. Or some are saying, no, all 225 should go. All of them are used in policy analysis only. So you look at the answers given. A positive economic statement, the first answer is an opinion. No, normative statements are opinions. Is used in economic policy analysis. No, normative statements are used in policy analysis. Normative statements can't be proven, but a positive economic statement is used to explain economic behavior. So even though to discuss this question, I took so much time, when you are doing this question, right? When you are doing this question, all you need to know is, okay, positive economic statement, what is it? Here you look at the answers, you know, they are talking about the characteristics. So there are 4 characteristics here. You look for one of those 4 and you have that in that orange or yellow answer. Then done. In 10 seconds, you are done with the question. You can move on to the next. You don't have to ponder, or you don't have to wait on this question for more than 10 seconds. So easy. But to know the answer and mark it within 10 seconds and get it right, you need to know what is a positive economic statement, the characteristics of positive economic statement, also normative economic statement, and characteristics of normative economic statement. Is that clear? Right. What's the answer for this? Right. So again, this is pretty much a question where if you know, you know. If you have like half understanding of your handout, or not, you know, you don't properly or completely studied the theory parts, you won't know the answer for this. Here they are saying anything which brings a positive satisfaction for human being is called what? So only if you know this definition, you know this definition belongs to which of the following answers, right? So production resources, you should know they are inputs used in production. That's what production resources are, inputs used in production. And economic resources are also a similar thing, but when it comes to economic resources, we say they have opportunity cost, they are limited, right? And they are actually the factors of production as well: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. A good, that's what the definition here talks about. Anything which brings positive satisfaction for human beings, that's called a good. And economic good is a type of good, right? Under good, we have economic, non-economic goods that we learned last class also. We did a question about that. So, like I said, for this question, if you know, okay, this is the definition for good, you might know it. Otherwise, you might miss it and just go and answer something else. Right? So definitions and the theory parts, proper understanding is like a must here. You can't give it to luck. Don't do that. Okay, because like I said, every single MCQ, right? Every single MCQ you have will get you 1 mark. It's a gift. You just look at this question and then find 1 answer out of the 5 given to you. And that's so simple. Whereas in part 2, you have to write paragraphs, and paragraphs sometimes you have to do sums, multiplications, divisions. You have to deal with sometimes decimals and then get that same mark, right? So how much of a gift this is? 50 MCQs. Just by doing this paper and not going for the part 2 itself, you can pass. So easy. So like I said, never leave a question for luck. Keep that in your head. Try your best to somehow get the answer, because the answer is staring right at you. All you have to do is just find the way to it. Okay, so someone is asking production resource, economic resource, what's the difference? Actually, no difference here, right? Actually, there can't be a difference here. But when we say resource, there's one more type: economic resource and non-economic resources as well. Whereas you can take sunlight, air, they are non-economic resources. but still they are also used in production. So you can take those non-economic resources as production resource as well, right? So that's why production resource and economic resource, there's a small difference where resources just talk about any input used in production, whereas economic resources talk about resources which are limited, have opportunity cost in production. But non-economic resources are also coming under production resources. The resources are unlimited, relatively speaking, and have no opportunity cost. So if you take production resources, under production resources, we have economic resource and non-economic resources. Even though generally this non-economic resource is something that's not talked about a lot, but in your syllabus it's there, right? So anyhow, I have given that. Even in your handout you might have it, right? In my handout it's there. I'm talking students who are external. In your version of the chapter 1 handout, you might have both these resources as well, right? For this question, then the answer is a good, right?
I didn't understand that.
Okay. Right. So when you know a good, anything which brings a positive satisfaction for human being is called a good. So anything that brings a negative satisfaction is called what? That is also actually a concept. Anything which brings a negative, this thing has a name. Right. Anything which brings a negative, what do you call, kind of utility or a dissatisfaction, we call them as bads. We call them as bads. So good is something that brings a positive value to the consumer. Bad is something that brings something of a negative feeling for the consumer. Okay, so can you give me an example for bad? Any idea? Can everyone hear me clearly? Is my voice breaking? Bad, good means, like I said, anything that brings a positive utility or value or satisfaction to the consumer, right? So positive utility. If positive utility is received from a product, we call it a good. On the other hand, if you receive a negative utility, right, some sort of a negative satisfaction, that means a dissatisfaction, if you get by consuming a product, now that is called a bad. So good example is anything that's around you. This highlighter, the smartphone, this charging adapter, all of these are goods because we get some value out of it and we pay money to get it, right? Whereas if you take a bad, we don't pay money to get it, we pay money to get rid of it. Example, garbage, right? Example, garbage. The garbage you have at your house is a bad because you pay money or you take an effort to get rid of it, right? When you give it to the garbage person, he won't give you money for that, right? The food waste and stuff, he won't give you money for that. You give them sometimes money and get rid of it somehow, right? So garbage is a bad. Cigarettes are not a bad. Cigarettes still, they are good, right? Because people are paying money to get it. No, the one who is smoking is getting a value out of it. That's why that guy pays 70, I don't know, 60, 70 rupees to buy cigarette and smoke. So that's a good for the person who is consuming it. Yes, that's what I said. Cigarettes are not a bad. They are still a good, but we call them demerit goods. They have negative impact to the environment. Okay, that we will learn later in chapter 8. For now, remember goods and bads. Here, positive satisfaction. So the answer is good. The orange one, orange or yellow, whichever in your screen, whatever color you are getting, that's it. What is the answer for this question? This is pretty much another kind of a very important point when it comes to factors of production. First of all, tell me, what are the factors of production you know of? What factors of production we have already learned about? Right, factors of production are simple: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So land means what? What is a land? That's land. So if you go here, you might have the same thing in your version of the chapter 1 handout that you have. So land is pretty much anything that's natural used in production, we call it land. Like forestry, minerals, animals, river, land surface, all of those are land. And labor is any human mental and physical efforts used in production, we call it labor. Right? Whereas capital is, what is capital? What is capital? Man-made resources used in production. Like this machine you are seeing here, it's a man-made thing used in production. Buildings, machinery, likewise, yeah, you can say raw materials that's used, but raw materials sometimes can come from land also, right? So anything that's man-made used in production. Yes, vehicles, machinery, buildings, the laptop that you have right now, the smartphone that you have right now, if you're using it in production to produce something, it would become a capital, right? But the question here is, when you look at the answers, which of the following is not an example of capital as a factor of production? So you should know capital as a factor of production. Lorry, yes or no? Is it a capital or not? It is capital, man-made, and it's used in production. Colombo Katnaika Highway, it's a road, right? Man-made, used in production and distribution and everything. We use it. World Trade Center building, again, it's a building that is made by man, humans, and it's used in production. Lots of services are done there. Money invested by owner in the business. So money, what do you think? It's man-made, right? And money invested by owner in the business, what do you call it? What's the term for it? Money invested by the owner in a business is called what? It's called capital. But it's called capital where? In which subject? In accounting, right? Maybe in business studies also you might talk about it that way, right? But here you see the question. That's why one more thing I want to add here. When you're doing an MCQ question, every word in the question has a purpose. right? It's not just randomly put there. Sometimes it's given to give you more information, or some words are given to confuse you. But here in this question, which one of the following is not an example of capital? They didn't stop there, because you can argue capital means in accounting, the definition is money invested by the owner in the business. That's why you mark. You can say that. That's why, to make sure you understood the question properly, they have put which one of the following is not an example of capital as a factor of production. So you see, the question is very clear of what they are asking, and they have properly asked it as well. So you can't get confused here. You can't give that blue answer, because the blue answer is the definition of capital in accounting. According to economics, capital means man-made resources used in production. Lorry is man-made, used in production. Highway is man-made, used in production. Buildings are man-made, used in production. Money, what do you think? Are they man-made and used in production? Very good, Nazir. And Fatima. So here specifically, there's a box you can see. Why is money not considered as capital in economics? Right? Why is money not considered as capital in economics? There's a reason for it. Because money is man-made, right? Money is man-made, but money is not directly used in production. Then what is money used for? Money is used to buy other factors. You pay money to get land. You pay money to get labor. You pay money to get the capital as well. To build machine or to buy a machine, you pay money. You don't put the money inside the production process. When you are baking a cake, you might put flour, you might put sugar or butter, eggs. There will be a baker, there will be an oven. But inside the oven, you never put the money. Money is not used in production. Money assists production. Money facilitates the production process. You can say it in that way. Money is not directly used in production. Okay, that's why money is not capital in economics, because money is not directly used in production. Okay, so that is one part students might not easily or correctly understand and identify. So that's something repeatedly tested, because someone who has half studied economics and has some knowledge of accounting might say the blue one is the answer. They might straight away put it and move on with no regrets or no doubts. They'll be like, that question, because I have studied it in accounting. Right? In O-level itself, you might have learned this, no? But when it comes to economics, that's not the case. Money is not capital. Money is not a factor of production in economics. Understood? Clear? Perfect then. Next, we'll go. So this one, blue one is the answer. That's not capital in economics. Money invested by owner in the business is not capital in economics as a factor of production. Right. A free good in economic terms can best be described as one which, what do you think? What's the answer? So some are saying red, some are saying yellow. Did anyone say blue or green? No one said blue or green. Right. So first of all, when you read the question, you need to know what is a free good. So what is a free good? What's another name for free good? We talked about this in the essay questions last week or the previous two classes. Free goods, another name for free good is non-economic goods. Not economic goods, non-economic goods. Be thorough with it, okay? Be clear on that. Don't get confused. Free good means it's another name for non-economic goods, right? So a free good in economic terms can best be described as one which, okay? So out of the following four answers, you have to pick the best description of a free good. It can't be just a description. It has to be the best out of the four, right? So we'll have a look at the answers. Is supplied at zero price to the consumer. So what do you think? A free good, give me an example for free good. A non-economic good, give me an example. Yeah, you can say sunlight. Let's go with the obvious one, sunlight, and yeah, right. Yeah, you can say water in the water stream or something. They can also be non-economic goods, right? Pretty much products which are relatively unlimited or relatively non-scarce, which have, right, something like which have no opportunity cost in production, no resource usage in production because they are not produced at all, no rivalry in consumption, and they also have zero price. Free good, sunlight, to consume it, you don't pay any price. To breathe air, you don't pay any price. So the thing is, when you look at the first answer, the red one, it's a viable answer, right? So we'll keep it. For now, we'll keep this red answer also because it's a viable answer, possible. So we'll keep it for now. The blue one is provided free by the government. So what do you think? Can it be a definition or characteristic of an economic good? Sorry, non-economic good, provided free by the government. No, sunlight and air can't be provided by the government. Even though government provides this free medicine, free textbooks for students of government school, they are still limited products which have been produced using limited resources, which have opportunity cost in production, and which have rivalry in consumption as well. If one person gets a book from the government, someone else can't get it. It might affect someone else, right? So even though it's provided free by the government, you can't say it's a free good. It's not a non-economic good. It will still be an economic good. And you look at the orange yellow answer, does not use scarce resources in its production. So that again is a description of a free good, because a free good means, I told you, when you look at the characteristics of a non-economic good, goods which have no resource usage, which have no opportunity cost in production, are called non-economic goods. They are unlimited in availability and they have no price and they have no rivalry in consumption. So the third answer is also a viable possible answer for this question. So we have two possible answers. We'll look at the fourth one. Can be produced at constant opportunity cost? No, because I told you a non-economic good means it can't have an opportunity cost, right? No opportunity cost. Sunlight to because it's natural, we didn't produce it, no, so there's no resource usage, there's no opportunity cost in production, right? So the blue and the green are out, but the yellow and the what do you call, the red ones are still there. So out of these two, which one do you think is the right answer? Yellow or red? Yellow or red? So those who are saying red, what's the reason? Those who are saying yellow, what's the reason? Right. The thing is, like I said, when you say a free good, let's get to the handout a bit. So if you look at non-economic goods, right? If you look at the characteristics of non-economic goods, like I said, they are very simple, right? They are non-scarce. That means you can say they are unlimited in availability. They have no resource usage in production or no resource cost, and they have no opportunity cost as well in production. I think my handwriting is legible here. And they have zero price, like I said, because it's free. You don't pay for sunlight or air. Zero price. And then the last one is have no rivalry in consumption. Rivalry in consumption. Right now, out of these 5 characteristics, if you have a look in the question, we have the second one and the fourth one. Both are mentioned. Now the question is which one to go with. That's why I told you in the question itself, they have asked you to choose the best description of non-economic goods. Not just a characteristic. Out of the characteristics given, there are 2 in this question. Which one best describes the non-economic good? Okay, so phone is going to say something, I think.
I didn't understand that.
Okay. Right. So which one do you think? Very simple. No resource usage is pretty much part of the definition, right? I should make the no part also orange. Okay, no resource usage is part of the definition of a non-economic good. No resource usage and no opportunity cost is part of the definition that defines a non-economic good. Now, when you say, okay, they also have zero price. No, yes, they also have zero price. But if you remember in the previous class, we talked about it. Economic goods also, even though they have a price, they have a certain price. But what did I tell you? That price can be zero as well, right? That price can be zero as well. For economic goods such as this highlighter, right? If I gift it to one of you, for you who is the consumer of this product, for you, this will be coming at zero price. That doesn't mean this is an uneconomic good. It's still an economic good. It still has resources used in production. It still has opportunity cost in production. It is still scarce in availability. If you get it, someone else won't get it. That's rivalry in consumption. So this highlighter is still an economic good, but it has no price. So that's why this zero price thing doesn't exactly tell you whether a product is an economic good or non-economic good. But when we say no resources are used in production, that means it's a non-economic good, definitely. Right? So zero price is a characteristic of non-economic good, but it's not the defining feature of a non-economic good. Right? Because the zero price thing can be used to characterize economic good as well. That's why that zero price thing you can't consider as the best description of a non-economic good. You have to go with the yellow one. Does not use scarce resources in its production, because that exactly defines only non-economic goods. Clear? Yarimas, tongue twister it. Very good, Fatima. Good explanation. Oh, நீங்களும் போட்டீங்களா அந்த டைம் நானும் mistake பண்ணிட்டேன். Right. So again, it's very simple. Like I said, the first answer, this one, is supplied at zero price to the customer. This can be supplied at zero price to the customer as well. Right? This can be supplied at zero price as well. But this is not this is not an uneconomic good. No, this is still an economic good. So that's why the first answer is not the best description of a non-economic good. But the third one, this one, the yellow one, is actually the description of a non-economic good. Sunlight, if you take, no resources are used to produce sunlight because it's natural. No one produced it. So no resources are used to produce it. Air, you take, same thing. No resources are used to produce it. That's why it's unlimited. So that defines non-economic good. But they also come at zero price. Agreed. I'm not saying no. Sunlight and air, you get it for zero price. But this also you get it for zero price if I gift it to you. In Dansal, whenever you eat an ice cream, it's free to the customer, zero price to the customer. But that doesn't mean the ice cream or this thing is an uneconomic good. That's why the yellow one is the best description of an uneconomic good, whereas the red one is one of the characteristic, yes, but that's not the way you describe an uneconomic good. All right. So Kizra has given me a very good example. Free economic class is an economic good. Yeah. Right. Free economic class, this session, right, is what? Is an economic good because limited resource is being used. It's not unlimited, right? It's available in limited quantity, right? And at the same time, resources are used for it, but you get it for free. But that doesn't mean it's unlimited. No resources are used. I'm working here. My resource is being, my labor is being put here to use. Yeah, Fatima. That's also a good example. So is that clear? Humble, clear on this? Can we move to the next question? So what's the answer for this one then? Select from the following the statement which contains a characteristic of an economic good. Right. So here the question is about characteristic of an economic good. So tell me an example for economic good. Books. Okay. What else? Why is everyone saying books? The first three examples I got were books and smartphone. Lottery price. Kizra is like going to extreme examples. Sunglass. That's the example in your handout. Bikes. Food. No one is talking about any food now. Why? Fried rice, pizza. No, Harsha just sent it. Right. So yeah, whatever you see around you pretty much is an economic good. The bricks on the wall. There are bags around here. There's a computer monitor here. Everything you might see around you might be the calendar on the back of the wall, the light on the back of the wall. The wall itself pretty much would be an economic good because resources are used there. Opportunity cost is there in production. Just because I got that calendar, no one else can get that calendar again, right? So likewise, it can have a price, and the price can be zero as well. I didn't pay for that calendar actually. I got it as a gift or something. One of my aunt gave it, right? So it's an economic good. Now, when you look at the characteristics, so in this question, before looking at the answer itself, another tip for doing MCQs, when you read the question, select from the following the statement which contains the characteristic of an economic good. So when you are done reading the question, in your head, revise the definition and characteristics of economic good, right? So what are the characteristics of an economic good? It has resource usage, resource cost in production. It has opportunity cost in production. It is available in limited quantities, so it's scarce, limited availability. It has a price, the price can be zero. And then the last one, there's rivalry in consumption. And then once you are done revising and bringing all those characteristics to the front of your mind, now look for one of those characteristics in the answers. That's all you have to do. So you see, it is provided to consumers by government for free of charge. So when you look at this answer, when something is provided by government free of charge, yes, it has to be an economic good because resources have been used. So that is not wrong here. It is not wrong here. It's an economic good, but that's not a characteristic of an economic good. It's an example they have given of economic good. Something that is provided free of charge by the government is not the characteristic of an economic good. It's just an example for economic good, right? So that answer is actually out. It yields zero satisfaction to consumers. Why do you think this one is not an answer? Or if you are thinking this is the answer, why? Now the thing is, when we said good, right, they are supposed to give positive satisfaction, not zero. Positive means there should be a value 1 or 2 or 3, something more than 0 should be there. That's what positive means. So economic good and non-economic good are types of goods, no? So these are also supposed to give positive satisfaction. So when you say zero satisfaction, that's not a good, right? And that's not the characteristic of an economic good at all, because economic good, as it's a type of good, it will give positive satisfaction only, not zero satisfaction. So this is also out. And when you say it has a demand, of course, people are asking for economic goods. Smartphones, people demand for it. Food, people demand for it. Obviously, it has a demand, but just because it has a demand, you can't say it's an economic good. Even sunlight has a demand. Even air has a demand, right? So just because something has a demand, you can't say it's an economic good. But if something has opportunity cost, now you can say that's an economic good because it's part of the definition of economic good itself, and it's also part of the characteristics of economic good. It has an opportunity cost in production that defines economic good. That is a characteristic of economic good, one of the main characteristics actually, right? And you see here, when you look at answer red, yellow and green, they are all not wrong, but one thing you need to understand, when you are doing your A-level MCQs, you are not always looking for the correct answer. Sometimes you are looking for the most appropriate answer. That means even though 2-3 answers might seem like the right answer, they can actually be correct. But out of those 3 correct answers, you have to find the most appropriate answer, right? The most appropriate answer. That's why in this case, economic goods have demand, but that's not the best way to characterize an economic good. That's not the most appropriate answer here. There's a better one. It has an opportunity cost. So that's why you should go with the orange one or the yellow one, right? Did you get it? So the answer here is it has an opportunity cost. And it all comes down to, again, the theory part. If you know the theory, the characteristic of economic good, there's no worry. You don't have to even look at the other ones. You just look for, out of the 5 characteristics, look for one of those in the answers. Once you find it, underline it, move on. There's no room for you to get confused here at all if you know the characteristics properly. Is that clear? Is that clear? So give me a moment here. Right. You see here, this is 2019's A-level paper, and it's part 1, and you get 2 hours to do the paper. All of that you might know already. And you see the instructions given. Answer all the questions. So all 50 you have to answer. And you will be given an answer sheet. There you write the index number and then mark all the answers on the answer sheet itself, right? And in each of the following 1 to 50, pick one of the alternatives from 5 answers given to you, which is, you see here, they have given it in bold font, which is correct or most appropriate. That's what I was talking about, right? It's not just only correct. Sometimes you might have, out of the 5, there can be only 1 correct answer, but sometimes 2-3 might be correct. But in that situation, you have to choose the most appropriate answer and mark your response on the answer sheet with a cross, right? So that's what I wanted to just focus on in the previous question. It's not just always the correct answer, it's the most correct answer, the most appropriate, most suitable answer. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay, since we are already here, tell me the answer for this question. The branch of economics that studies the decisions of individual households and firms is called we just talked about it earlier, right? Microeconomics. That's the branch of economics which studies individual households, analyzes the decisions and behaviors of individual units of an economy. So who are the individual units of an economy? The households and the firms mainly, right? Microeconomics. So well done. What do you think the answer for the second one is? The income payment made to resource owners of land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship respectively are. So it has to be in order, right? So income payment of land is what? Rent. Labor is wages or salary. Capital is interest. Entrepreneurship profit. So answer 4, right? So they have asked you to give the rewards respectively in the order they have given: land, rent, labor, wages, capital, interest, entrepreneurship profit. What's the answer for the third one then? Right. So here, again, to know the answer for this question, you need to know what are the characteristics of command economic systems, right? So, we have market economic system, command economic system, and mixed mainly. So you need to know when they ask you, okay, what is a salient feature of a command economic system, you need to obviously know all the characteristics of command economic system to exactly get the right answer here. Okay, so when you look at the first answer, private ownership of capital, that you can see in which economic system, market or command? Private ownership of capital. So not just capital, any factor, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, anything, if it has private ownership, that means it's market economic system, right? Pretty much. Generally, that's how it works, right? And or you can even say capitalist economic system, but we mainly in our syllabus, we only have command, market, mixed, right? Heavy reliance on market, again, that is a characteristic of market economic system. Market power, again, is about market economic system. Decision making based on self-interest, which economic system? Again, market economic system, right? So the main characteristic, the defining feature of a command economic system is central planning. The decision coordinating mechanism here is central planning. The central planning authority will make the decisions in a command economic system. It's pretty much like a committee of people like parliament, not the parliament though, a committee of people like the parliament who would sit around, talk about, okay, what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce, all of those things. That's what central planning is. All those planning is with that committee only. Okay, whereas in market economic system, we have decentralized planning, where pretty much anyone can make a decision as long as they have the resources and all. Based on the price, they will make the decision. So central planning is the salient feature of a command economic system, whereas every other answer given are pretty much market economic system based characteristics. Is that clear? So we have talked 3 questions very quickly. That's good. let me get back to the paper you guys did. Right, so the answer for this one is the yellow one, is it? Am I correct? It has an opportunity cost, yes. The problem of resource allocation talks about what? It's 5:13, right? So the power will be cut in a few minutes or right now itself. The power is cut. Sometimes I might have to switch to my mobile data. It might take about 2 to 3 minutes. So wait. Right. So here we are pretty much in the economic systems part, where the question is about the problem of resource allocation talks about what? Okay, so you have 4 answers given: discrimination in income distribution, requirement of efficient resource utilization, problem of resource scarcity, what and how much to produce. Okay, now you need to first know what this problem of resource allocation actually means. Then only you can directly identify the answer. Otherwise, you might feel like everything is possibly the answer for this question. Some might even have chosen the yellow one, problem of resource scarcity, right? The thing is, like I said, you need to know the background of the question, where this is coming from, under which topic we are learning. Right? Everyone can hear me clearly? Give me a moment. Right, everyone can hear me, right? All good? I believe. Okay. So like I said, for this particular question, you need to first know the context where this question is coming from. So where is it coming from? In economic system, where do you get to learn these problems? Right here. When we talk about economic systems, right? And then when we pretty much start economic system, we talk about these basic economic problems, right? Basic economic problems. When we talk about these basic economic problems, there are three problems. What are those three problems? It's given here. Resource allocation problem, that's called the what and how much to produce problem, another name for it. Production technology problem, that's about how to produce. And then we have the distribution problem, which is about for whom to produce. So we have these three problems, right? Resource allocation, production, and distribution problem. All these three problems have alternative names, right? What and how much to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. You need to know this resource allocation problem. That's what and how much to produce problem is. If you don't know that connection, you don't know the answer for this question. And for those of you who thought this resource allocation problem, right, talks about problem of scarcity, the thing is, all the three problems are talking about scarcity, because the main reason why we face these three problems, the main reason is scarcity itself. If there's no scarcity, we won't have to choose about what and how much to produce, or how to produce, or whom to produce. If there's no scarcity, we can produce everything we want. We can produce whatever in whatever way we want. We can give to whomever we want. The thing is, scarcity creates all these three problems, not just the first problem, right? Because that's why you see basic economic problems, another name is problem of choice, and choice arises because of scarcity, right? Even if you are one of my students, when you see these reasons why basic economic problems arise, one of the top, the main point you might have put is scarcity. That's why you have to do this, because resources are limited, wants are unlimited. Okay, so that is why you can't give this answer, right? And obviously the first answer is not an answer. Discrimination in income distribution, that's not what problem of resource allocation is about. And problem of resource allocation is also not about efficient resource utilization. Even though you are using all the resources in the best way possible, right? All the resources are used in the most efficient way possible. Still, you will have to face this problem of resource allocation, because resources are still limited, scarce. So that's why the right answer to this question is problem of resource allocation talks about what and how much to produce. Like I said, again, another 10-second question, as long as you know the connection between these two. Problem of resource allocation is what and how much to produce. If you know it, you read the question, you find the answer, mark it and move on. 5-10 seconds max. Next question. Characteristic of an economic system. Characteristics of economic systems are given. Select the answer that only consists of features of command economic system, right? So 5 characteristics of economic systems are given. Out of the 5, you have to pick only the characteristics that describe command economic systems. Again, for this question, you should know the characteristics of command economic system, and to identify out of the 5 which answers are the right ones, that means the characteristics of command economic system, and which ones are not the characteristics of command economic system. You need to also know the characteristics of market economic system as well. Because sometimes when you are doing a question like this, you have 5 answers here. You see command economic system. Okay. You might know the characteristics of command economic system, right? But you might not know whether you know all the characteristics, right? There's no way someone can memorize or understand every single characteristic. No. If there are 10, you might understand 8, and the last 2 you might have no idea about. So here they have given 5. You might feel like, oh, okay, 2 of them are exactly right, but another one I'm not so sure. To be so sure, you need to know the other side of the economic system, the market one. If you know some of the characteristics of market economic system and command economic system, both, now you can easily eliminate the wrong ones from here. So when you look at the first answer, private property ownership, that is a characteristic of command or market. Earlier itself, we talked about it. The first one belongs to market. In the 2019 paper also, we did a question. Market. Works on social welfare. What do you think, market or command? Command, right? Why? Because market works on what? What's the focus of the market economic system? The market economic system works for self-interest, the benefit of the consumers and the producers. Producers look for profit, maximizing it. Consumers look to maximize their utility. And competition, do you see in command economic system? No. Because it's the government doing it, right? Government can't compete with government. There's no private party, no. So market competition is something you see in market. Competition is something you can't see in command economic system. Using planning mechanism in solving basic economic problems, market or command? Command. Because that's what command economic system is. They don't use price. So okay, give me a minute. Right, can everyone hear me clearly? Right. Cool. Right. So where were we? Works on social welfare. B. And using plan mechanism D, and works on public welfare E. So B, D, E. You look for that answer. You have it here, the box, the green one. So pretty simple. Is that clear now? Clear? Fazlan, all clear? Right. So one more thing, when you are not in your A levels, but when you are revising right now, right, when you're revising and all of that's happening, when you're doing these MCQs, make sure that when you do these questions, every answer study, right? So you see here, there are 5 points, or you go to the previous question, it will be easier. So when you go to the previous question here, there are 4 answers now. Like here also, you have 4 answers. So every question in your A-level paper, you'll have 5 answers. So when you are studying a question, okay, first look at the question and then see, okay, what's the right answer, find it. Okay. At the same time, look at the other 4 answers and have a look at it and understand why they are not the answer for this question. Right? That way, what happens is, when you're doing one MCQ, you're not just studying one concept of, you're just not only focusing on one answer. When you study all 5 answers and their background, by doing one MCQ, you cover about 5 MCQs. I believe you get what I'm trying to say. Because in the other questions also, here also, when I took you through, I didn't just say this is the question, this is the answer. I took you through why the other questions are not the answers as well. Because that's so important with MCQ especially. Why? Because some questions will have that 50-50 chance. You might be like, okay, out of the 5 answers, 3 are not the answer. You can eliminate them. At the end, you might be left with 2 answers. Then you don't know out of these 2 how to get the right one. Right? Because you might lack the understanding of the concept accurately, properly. So you are unsure between 2 answers now. So to eliminate that chance of being uncertain, you have to be sure why one particular answer is the right answer, while every other 4 answers are wrong. You should know that. Okay. So here also, when I took you through the answers, I explained why they are not the answer, and only the green one is the answer. I'm not just explaining this is the question or directly go to the answer. That's not how you should revise. Many of us do that mistake. And that's why we kind of, when we get a new question or something, we get confused. And we feel like kind of intimidated because of the question is like kind of new and the answers are like almost close to one another. We can't find the right one exactly. So like I said, when you're doing these questions, always make sure you know the question, you get the right answer. Okay. But eliminate the other 4 by understanding them and why they are not the right answer for this question. Then do that thing when you are revising. Okay. So you look at this question, a basic economic question, which is common for all economic systems, is what? What's the answer for this question? So I think for this, everyone is answering, giving me the same answer. So this thing is a basic economic problem, a basic economic question, which is common for all economic systems, is utilizing a bulk of money on a few commodities. It might seem like a possible viable answer, but we'll keep it aside. Overutilization of scarce resources. That's also a problem we are seeing in a lot of countries. Environmental pollution, again, is a problem we are seeing in a lot of countries. But what the question is about is simple, basic economic problem, which is common for all economic systems, right? For every single country, the rich countries, the poor countries, the global leaders, right? The superpowers and the super poors, everyone should face the problem out of the four given here, which is the resource scarcity being a barrier in fulfilling all unlimited wants. That is something every single country, rich or poor, powerful or not so powerful, everyone is facing. Right? Environmental pollution, some countries might face, some countries might not face. Right? Overutilization of scarce resources, it's a choice. You can overutilize them or you can leave. But the yellow answer, resource scarcity, is not a choice. It's anyway a barrier for any country. Right? So the answer to this question is pretty direct. Scarcity, resource scarcity is a barrier in fulfilling unlimited wants. Because of that, we have to choose. So that's what the question is leading to. So what's the answer? The yellow one, pretty obvious. Clear? Okay, next question. Okay, right. Market failure means what? We'll do another two and end for today. This one and another one. So in total, we might have done 15 questions then. 12 here and the 3 on the paper. Right. Right. So look here, give me a moment. Now, first of all, you need to know what market failure actually means to know the answer for this question. Market failure is something in chapter 1, you might not actually or directly get the definition, but in chapter 8, you learn about it. Okay, because chapter 8 starts with market failure. Market failure simply means the market economic system, right? The market economic system, the market failing to allocate resources in the way society prefers. What that means is market works for profit, no? right? Market works for profit. So sometimes what they do is, in love for this profit, even though let's say society wants 100 units of a product, right? Society wants 100 units of a product, but market, just because it wants more profit, it can supply more than 100 units. Take cigarettes. Society wants less of cigarettes, no, but market provides more and more because market gets profit out of it. Some products are there where market wants more, but society will be like producing only less. Sorry, society wants more, but market will be producing only less. Right? Some products are there, society wants less, market gives more. Some products are there, society wants more, market gives less, because those products might not be giving enough profit. So market failure is the situation in a market, in an economy, where the market fails to allocate resources according to the requirement of the society. Sometimes they over allocate resources or under allocate resources, overproduce certain products or underproduce certain products. If the society wants 100 units and the market gives more than 100 or less than 100, that is market failure. Right? That is pretty much what market failure is. So here, if you look at the answers, a condition of transferring market to planned economy. No, that's not what market failure is. Right? That's not what market failure is. A condition of demand and supply not being equal. That's not market failure. That's pretty much what we call market disequilibrium. Right? The answer is the inefficient resource allocation through market forces. That's what market failure is. Market failing to allocate resources efficiently. Market failing to allocate resources efficiently. Market allocating resources inefficiently is what market failure is. Right? Because market is not allocating resources according to what the society wants. They are allocating more or less. Right? Both are bad. If society wants 100 units, then market should provide 100 only. If market is providing 110, what's going to happen? People will only buy 100. The balance 10 is not good for the society now. Likewise, when you take education and health stuff, society wants more, but market will provide only for people who have high amount of money. Only those people will buy. But you take Panadols or these medicine stuff, or the health industry as a whole. Everyone in the world, everyone in Sri Lanka needs medicine. But do you think everyone can afford to go to Navaloka? No. Everyone can afford to go to Durdans and have a heart surgery there? No. The supply from the producer, from the market, is very small, whereas society wants more. Right? Society wants more. So market is under providing in those instances. That is market failure. Cigarettes and stuff, market gives way more than what the society wants. Again, market failure. Inefficient allocation of resources. Clear? Is that clear? Yeah, all clear? There's a kid shouting in the neighbor house, I think. Right. We'll see what the next question is. Select the incorrect statement. What is the answer? This is the last question for today. An economy optimally using all resources in production is full employment. Long-term effect of economic depression is recession. The persistent increase in real output is economic growth. Inefficient use of resources with less productivity is underemployment. So again, this is a question where you need to know all these concepts properly to know which is right, which is wrong. Otherwise, you might be confused with this question, right? So full employment, obviously, you should know by now what is full employment. Optimal usage of all resources is called full employment. None of the resources are wasted. Everything is used in that's full employment. So that definition is correct. An economy optimally using all resources in production is full employment. The persistent increase in real output is economic growth. That's what economic growth is. A gradual increase in the total production. That's economic growth, right? If the total production continuously keeps on increasing, we call it economic growth. That is also correct, right? The long-term effect of economic depression is recession. Is that correct? For someone who is like not completely sure of what is recession, what is depression, they might say, yes, that's correct. It's not. Actually, it's in reverse. The long-term effect of recession is economic depression. Recession is the short-term thing. I told you, the drop in GDP for about 6 months, short period of time is called a recession. If the recession continues for a long period of time, it might turn into depression. The long-term version of a recession is what depression is. So the blue answer is wrong. That's the incorrect statement here. You look at the green one, inefficient use of resources with less productivity is underemployment. That's a new word. You might not have come across it in chapter 1 up until now. You will come across it especially in chapter 11, right? Employment we know, unemployment we know. What is underemployment? So it's a new word. Look here clearly. In chapter 11, you will learn the definitions and all. Employment means resources being used in production, right? Resources being used in production. That's called employment, simple. Unemployment means resources not being used in production. Then what do you think underemployment means? Underemployment means here resources are used, they are employed, but they are not employed in a way that uses them properly. They are underused. Let's say you take an accounting graduate and you give him a data entry work. You take an engineer and you give him a desk job where he sits and just fills forms. That person is employed. He is not unemployed. He has work now. He is employed, but he is not doing what his potential is. He is employed, but underemployed. Right? That's the difference between employment, unemployment, and underemployment. Underemployment means a resource is employed, but not being used efficiently, effectively. The potential use is not achieved. Do you get that? Underemployment. Inefficient use of resources with less productivity is underemployment. If a guy can produce 100 units, but that guy is like only producing 20, 30 units, that's underemployment. Or if there's a machine which has a capacity to produce 1,000 units per day, but we are only using it to produce 700 units per day. The machine is being used, it is employed, but we are not getting the best use of it. That is underemployment. Shamir, okay? Cool. So I think with that, I'm going to end today's session. The next 8 questions we have, we'll discuss it in the next class. So for next class, you have to do some work now, either an MCQ paper or an essay type question paper. I will send it. I will inform you guys in the Telegram group regarding that. So next Tuesday we'll have the class. By Friday, I will inform you and give you the essay type paper. Or if it's an MCQ, I will inform you that you have to do the MCQ in Kahoot. Cool. So it will be chapter 1 and 2, right? Because mainly it will focus on PPC areas because we have to do questions there. And also economic system questions. I think we didn't do essay type for those questions. So that also we have to focus on. So chapter 1, I will finish thoroughly, then only move to chapter 2 mainly. Okay. So in this paper also, there are chapter 2 questions that we'll discuss in the next week's class. Cool. So make sure chapter 1 and 2 you have thoroughly studied, revised, so that you can get the best out of these papers, the best out of these sessions that we are conducting here. Okay. So with that, I'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. Have a great week ahead. You're most welcome, guys. Mubarakallah khair. See you all next week. Don't know where the country will be by next week. Every week we see each other. The country is worse and worse than the previous week. We'll see how it turns out next week. Hopefully better.